Hey, so now I am in the airport of Skopje in the car that I rented finally. It's a Fiat. It's a pretty big car actually. But yeah, after walking to the station, finding out that there is no train until 1, I just took a taxi and I went to the airport and I rented this car. So I have this car for the next 5 days. I needed to pay extra for actually being able to cross countries. I didn't know that. Probably somewhere in the small letters somewhere, but 35 euros per country. But I already booked everything, so yeah, I paid 70 euros extra. Not so nice, but okay, that's part of it, I guess. Yeah, so let's get started and let's go to Pristina, which is 1.5 hour drive. Right now I'm at the Kosovo side, almost. I'm at the Kosovo border side. Let's hope I can cross this one too.
I was very happily surprised about the state of the roads in Kosovo, because as you can see they look brand new. And in fact they invested a lot in the last 20 years in infrastructure. This road is roughly 10 years old and it connects Skopje to Pristina. Next to that, driving this road is also very beautiful.
Hello from Pristina, Kosovo. I finally arrived after an hour and a half driving. The roads are very good. I was very surprised about this. The roads are like Dutch or German roads basically, so very smooth, no rolls, nothing wrong basically. The signs are good, the rails are still shiny, everything is good basically, so I was really surprised. So I arrived here finally. It's a tiny little apartment. It's okay for one night. It's just a little kitchen over here. We have a little bathroom over here. It's tiny, yes, but it's for one night. It's okay. I cannot imagine to live actually in this because, well, you have you have a couch, little table, and that's kind of it. You have a cupboard, and that's basically it. And yeah, you have some big windows with a view. Yeah, that's basically it. So now I'm gonna explore Pristina, and then tomorrow I will go to Albania, to Tirana. So let's see how Pristina is. Nee, nee.
This futuristic building is a library and was built in 1982 by a Croatian architect, and it has 99 domes on it, and it's covered with a metal-like fishnet. According to the architect, it's supposed to be a blend of Byzantine and Islam architecture, but also pre-Roman architecture. Whatever it may be, one thing is sure, it's very unique.
So it's time for the currency of Kosovo. So here we have the euro. Wait a second. Euros. Yeah, they have euros apparently. I did not know that. And apparently they used this already since the beginning, since 2002. And when I went there, of course, I was taking some money from the machine. And when I got the euros, I was kind of confused, obviously. And I thought maybe they used this next to their own currency, but no, they only have euros. So yeah, they have a weird situation going on that they're not part of the European Union, but they are on the list to apply, even though they are recognized by maybe half of the UN countries. But yeah, they use the currency without permission of the European Central Bank. So they basically adopted the euro unofficially, and they don't make their own money, they don't make their own coin, so they don't mint anything. They don't get money from the European Central Bank, obviously. So how do they get it? Basically by people bringing money there, just traveling or going back home from other countries, and then having euros and spending it. This is so much that they can basically put it in circulation and they can say that they have the euro now. So that's how they do it. They just rely on how much other people from outside of Kosovo bring in, and that's how they use euros. It's quite weird. Apparently it has to do with the fact that after the dissolution of Yugoslavia was quite a mess. They didn't want to use the money of Yugoslavia or Serbia anymore. So they used the money of Germany, which used the Deutsche Mark, so the German mark. And when the Germans obviously took the euro, they had to do the same thing because they were using their money. So that's why they already started using them in 2002, even though Kosovo is independent officially since 2008. So that's weird because they were still part of Serbia, which does not have the euro, and they already did before they were independent. Yeah, it's kind of messy, but that's what they have. Kosovo. A word that for most people means only one thing: war. But what actually happened? So from 1998 until 1999, Kosovo was at war with Yugoslavia, but the origins of the war can be traced back 120 years ago. During this period, Kosovo went through wars, conflicts and crises, and the situation with the Serbs can be summed up in one word: revenge. Because every action was basically a revenge action for the previous action of the other party, and this continued for decades and decades. Fast forward to post-World War II. Yugoslavia was created and it suppressed most of its ethnic groups. The Serbs kept most of the power, but nevertheless in the 1970s Kosovo got a lot of self-control. But then in 1980, Joseph Broz Tito died, and chaos and instability followed, and economy collapsed. To make matters worse, around 1990 the entire communist world started to collapse, and Yugoslavia was falling apart. Every country within Yugoslavia wanted to be independent. The same was for Kosovo. That's why they had a referendum for independence in 1991, for which the majority voted in favor. Following this, there was a presidential election in 1992. After this, a period of major repression started under the Yugoslavian leader Slobodan Milosevic. Albanian schools were closed. Teachers had to sign an oath of loyalty to Yugoslavia. Albanian parents were punished for having more than one child, while at the same time Serbians in that area were rewarded for having more than one child. The unemployment rate under the Albanians skyrocketed to 70%. And because of this, 350,000 Albanians left the area. The Serbian response to this was,
resettling 16,000 Serbians into the area. The newly elected president Ibrahim Rugava followed a policy of passive resistance because he wanted to avoid conflicts like in Bosnia, which was full of genocides and massacres. Because of this, Ibrahim Rugava asked for UN peacekeepers, just like in Bosnia. But this time Serbia refused. So because of this, the Albanians didn't see any other option than starting armed resistance, and they formed resistance and militia groups, which were first classified as terrorist groups and later became allies. Then in early 1999, negotiations broke down because the Serbians kept refusing UN peacekeepers on the ground. Then NATO started to bomb Yugoslavia into submission from March until June that same year. This highly controversial bombing campaign finally ended when the Serbs accepted the terms in June and withdrew from Kosovo. Following this, 30,000 NATO troops entered Kosovo. The result of all of this conflict was war crimes committed by all the parties. But today Kosovo is independent since 2008 and is trying to live a normal life. And I think that's the best solution. Because first of all, that's what the people want. And the people have the right to decide about their own country. Secondly, why would Kosovo not be allowed to be independent when all the other countries are now independent? And thirdly, they have no ethnic connection to the Serbians. So all in all, this seems like the most logical option.
Good morning from Pristina again. I quickly went out to find a souvenir. It's not so easy because there was only one shop that kind of had a souvenir. So I'm gonna write the card, post it because the post office is here, and then I'm gonna leave. So right now I'm at the monastery of Grasjevenia. I forgot the name. It's a UNESCO heritage site, officially listed under Serbia because UNESCO does not recognize Kosovo. But this is a 14th century monastery. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to film inside, so I'm just gonna show the outside.
The Gracenicia monastery was built in 1321, on the ruins of a basilica that dates back to the 6th century. The frescoes inside date back to the 1320s, and the latest to the 1570s. The overall area is of great importance to the Serbs, because it's the site of the earliest inhabitants of the Kosovo region. During the Ottoman rule, it was damaged several times, and in more recent times it was bombed twice by NATO in the Kosovo War. But since 2006 it's part of UNESCO World Heritage. While driving off to Albania and finishing my flash visit to Kosovo, I couldn't stop thinking about how such a small region could be so intrinsically complex with all its history, cultures and ethnicities. Yet the only thing you will see is resilience. Considering their recent history and being one of the youngest countries in the world, they have all the ingredients for failure. Yet the only thing you see are construction projects and a proud and future-oriented people. So from now on, when you hear the word Kosovo, the only word you should think of is resilience. So why would you visit Kosovo? Well, the history is ancient, the nature is breathtaking, the cuisine is delicious, and the people are amazing. And it's not touristic at all, so you will have an authentic feel of the region.
So that was the end of this episode. It was a very complicated one, but as we can see, the people are always great and very friendly. So now it's time for the postcard and the magnet part. So here we have the postcard. It's a very easy one. And the man to read it to you is my dad, and he's getting some coffee right now. So come on over.
Hello there. Here's a coffee from Moorweb in Vienna.
Thank you very much. So yeah, here we have the postcard from Kosovo.
Yeah, very nice postcard. Very thin too. Very thin.
Yeah. 'Cause they don't have a lot of souvenir shops. It was kind of the only option.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, here we go. G'day, Dad. Kosovo is very modern compared to other countries around here. Pristina is very young and lively and has a great atmosphere. It also small, but nice nevertheless. Okay, let's see. Yeah, one day is enough to see most of it. This country became independent in 2008, but they have come very far since then. The roads are in great condition, and they also have the euro here. Today I will go and drive for 4 hours to Albania. By the way, this area is very Turkish. Catch you later, Dad.
Yeah, well,
That was it.
that indeed describes basically what I showed in the video. So then for the magnets, I managed to find this one. It's basically Kosovo in the form of some little stones, because I think it's known for its minerals and stuff like that. Also one of the only options you can find.
That looks like iron ore.
Yeah, it's all kinds of different little stones. And then in the monastery we also got one. It's fully made of wood, and it's the Stanica monastery, and then with Cyrillic writing underneath. That's also nice detail. So yeah, looking at the video, of course it was quite a hectic history that it had. But yeah, as we can see now, it looks very modern actually,
Yeah.
and it doesn't match anymore with our point of view or with our perception. So you probably was kind of surprising to see Kosovo in this modern style, because you just have the ideas of the news and of the war and stuff, and it has come so far.
Yeah. It's about 15 years ago?
Yeah, it was around 1990, 2000. Yeah.
So yeah.
How far they have come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants a war. It's always the politicians that cause the wars.
Yeah.
It's and the conflict and whatever, or the disagreements. So yeah. So
Yeah.
thank God that's over. That's over for them. But now we've got Ukraine.
Yeah, that's another thing, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, as we can see, the country is actually quite beautiful and has a lot to offer, and it's definitely worth a visit. And for an authentic feel, because it's not very touristic, it's definitely worth it. So I hope I can go back soon, because this was a very quick visit, just a day. But yeah, the roads are great. So if you want to drive there, it's a great idea. Yeah.
All right.
So, well, that said, see you at the next video.
Right. See you next time. Bye bye.
See ya, bye bye.
Bye bye.